And thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go straight to our panel. Labor MP Ed Husic and Liberal MP Paul Fletcher. They're both in Sydney. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
First to you, Paul Fletcher. The Coalition supports the NDIS and largely supports Gonski, the education reforms that the government is trying to implement. How should the government pay for these expensive reforms?
Well, look, the Prime Minister's speech in the Press Club today is billed as demonstrating Labor values, and apparently she's going to show us how Labor is finally going to get the budget under control. Let's remember that Labor promised several hundred times that there would be a budget surplus in 2012-13 before having to admit that they couldn't deliver it. Let's remember that this is a Prime Minister who promised time after time that there would be no carbon tax under a government she led and then introduced a carbon tax. So unfortunately, this is a government with zero credibility when it comes to fiscal management. So this attempt...
But how would the Coalition pay for it?
The Coalition is committed to getting the budget under control and paying for things when we can afford them, and we've made that consistently clear. The issue is that the government is telling us, the Prime Minister is telling us that suddenly she is going to be able to announce how they're going to manage the budget and get the budget under control to pay for this series of unfunded commitments. Well,
Husic, why can't the government fund these programs without cutting benefits and exemptions and the like?
Well, before, if I can get to answering your question, I think the other thing that certainly the Liberals need to admit to is that they've been saying and beating their chest for ages, saying we'll get to a budget surplus within 12 months of office, and that real solution slipped out of their document real quick on the weekend, where they've backpedalled on that. And the reality is that for both sides of politics, where revenues are under extreme pressure given global economic conditions, you can't maintain, and that's basically the reality has been, you can't maintain a commitment if it runs or rubs up against reality. And the reality is that the money isn't there the way it was. So it does require us to be a lot more disciplined in the way that we execute programs, and certainly you'll see and get a sense out of the PM today at her Press Club speech what the sort of direction that we're intending to take.
The reality is this is a government that's gone crazy with spending. Spending was about $250 billion a year 6 years ago. It's now $360 billion a year, over $100 billion a year up in 6 years. And when Labor says it's going to get the budget under control, what that means is tax increases. This is a government which has consistently increased taxes, and they're about to do it again.
Tax to GDP lower than you guys, spending to GDP lower than you guys.
Tax increases under this government.
Tax to GDP
okay, well,
lower.
Look, we're going to...
Hang on a second. Tax to GDP lower under us, and spending to GDP lower under us. So stats don't lie.
All right, well, we are standing by to take you to the opposition leader, Tony Abbott. In the meantime, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this.